Hello and welcome back to my tutorial series on how to play Crusader Kings 2. I'm your host Imperialis, and in our last episode, Earl Murcad had just finished conquering the county of Kildare from the nefarious gentleman who used to be in charge of it, whose name I can't even remember. And dear old dad unfortunately passed away, but the nice thing for me is that meant I inherited the county of Leinster. Now, we have some very important realm management to do. This is going to be our first real attempt at doing that, and there's a very, very specific order that things need to be done in for it to work out well. So, the reason we need to do realm management is because if you see here, we have a maximum domain size of 3. So we can have up to 3 counties in our personal domain. However, when Earl Murcad dies, which will happen eventually, our succession law is gavelkind. And what that means is all of my titles get split amongst my sons. My heir will usually get at least 2 titles, but other than that they get split up. So in this case right now my heir is heir to the county of Dublin and heir to the county of Leinster. So he will inherit both of those territories, but you'll notice he is not the heir to the county of Kildare. So where is that going to end up? If we go back to my family tree here and look at my second son, it says he is heir to the county of Kildare. So when Earl Murcad dies, if he were to die the way things are set up right now, Domhnall here would inherit those 2 counties, and Enna would inherit Kildare. And now, because he is a count, Earl Murcad is a count, or an earl, earls cannot rule over other earls. You need to be the next step up in the feudal hierarchy in order to do that. So you have to be a duke in order to command earls and counts. You need to be a king in order to command dukes. And you need to be an emperor in order to command kings. So that means I need to become a duke in order to have the best chance of keeping my territory together here. So, and in order to do that, you'll see here there's a little pop-up. Whenever you see a little circle thing come up here, it means that there's something that the game wants you to pay attention to. I can create the Duchy of Meath. And the Duchy of Meath would consist of all of my current holdings, and instead of being Earl of Dublin, I would become the Duke of Meath. So, we don't, however, want to do that yet. Remember what I said about how it is very, very important to follow a very specific order here. Because if I created the Duchy of Meath right now, it would still be agnatic, cognatic, gavelkind. And that would mean that upon my death, it would still split up amongst my heirs. It would still be all within the duchy. So they would be subjects of my heir. But I want to keep these 3 and eventually 4 counties, I want to include Ossory on this as well, as my personal domain. I want to keep that as the holdings that my individual character, whoever that happens to be, whether it's Murcad or Domhnall or one of Domhnall's, at this moment, daughters, I want it to stay in my personal domain. So I don't want to be passing it out to second sons. Now, in order to do that, I need to change the laws. I need to get rid of gavelkind. And changing laws can be quite challenging. At least changing succession laws. Because right now, in order to change a succession law, you have to meet all of these conditions. You can't have changed one in the past. You can't have previously changed a succession law within your character's life. He has to have reigned for at least 10 years, has to be at peace, can't be in a regency, can't have any vassals fighting each other, and cannot have any vassals with a negative opinion of you. So it can be very difficult, especially in a big empire, to actually get succession laws changed. It's a little bit easier in this case because we're so small, but getting out of Gavelkind is probably one of the first things you're going to want to do if you want to actually try and focus on building up an empire. I mean, it's entirely possible to play the game with Gavelkind, and in fact, if you are playing in the Old Gods as one of the Norse or one of the other pagans, you cannot change out of Gavelkind, and there are strategies for how to do that, or how to manage Gavelkind, but we're not going to get into that here. We're going to do it the much simpler way, which is going to be to change to primogeniture. So primogeniture, if you remember, is where the oldest inherits everything. He'll get all of my titles, younger brothers get nothing. Now this is going to be the first thing that I do, because when I create the duchy, it's going to reset the counter for how long I've reigned. So right now, because I've reigned 10 years, I can change the law. But as soon as I create the duchy, it will inherit the county laws that I currently have, but I will not be able to change them for 10 years. So I'm going to click on primogeniture. Oldest child of the ruler inherits all titles. Your successor will like the law, but other members of your dynasty will slightly disapprove. So he's going to like the fact that we're changing to primogeniture, which is actually a little bit of a lie. He'll be angry with me for a little while because I've changed the law. But after that, he's going to like the fact that we have this law. His younger brothers, not so much. So we click on OK, and now you see he's the heir, and the pretenders, instead of being his daughters, are now my other two sons. You also see there's another pop-up that came up here. Says, I have unlanded sons. One of the other disadvantages to changing out of Gavelkind is that anytime you have sons who are of age and do not own any territory, you take a penalty to your prestige. So that's never a good thing. But now that I've changed the laws, I can create my new title. And I can create the Duchy of Meath. It'll show you here what the counties that technically belong in the duchy are. It will include Leinster here, even though it isn't technically part of the duchy, but it will still include it because it's part of my domain. So, and you can see that eventually it can be part of the Kingdom of Ireland, and in turn the Kingdom of Ireland can be part of the Empire of Britannia. So, with that, we're going to click Create. Now, creating a duchy costs a lot of money, 190 gold, so that's going to take almost all my gold. The only reason I can even afford to do this is because I inherited Dad's money when he died. But it's going to give me 200 additional prestige, which is always nice, and I will get the duchy. And oddly enough, I did not actually create a duchy. I created a petty kingdom of Tara. Okay, so brief explanation, what a petty king means. Petty kings are dukes, but they are independent dukes. They were introduced when the Old Gods came out, and largely as a way of explaining some of the tiny little pocket kingdoms that existed at the time. Like you had Northumbria, Wessex, all the different little tiny little kingdoms within England and stuff like that, all the little Scandinavian kingdoms, and they counted them all as petty kings rather than full-on kings. And so from a game standpoint, I'm still a duke in terms of my hierarchy within the feudal system, but they call me a petty king because I'm independent. And I am, yeah, so see, he's petty king as well, and he's king of Munster. But Munster's still a petty kingdom, it's not a full kingdom. Okay, so now, Ireland now has 3 different kings in it, which is always interesting. I happen to be in a position where I'm the most powerful, which is good. I've got 3 counties, and my next closest competitor is King Murcod here, who has 2. But we're still not done yet, because I'm just going to unpause for a tick here so you can see it. Keep an eye on my domain size here. Just going to let it tick over a day or 2. There we go. Okay. Now, because I changed from Gavelkind, I no longer have Gavelkind succession, I've lost the bonus that it gives me. And the bonus for Gavelkind is that I can have 1 more territory, 1 more county within my personal domain. So now my maximum domain size has dropped to 2, leaving me with a bit of a problem here, because anytime you exceed your domain size, it affects what kind of taxes you get, how many troops you can raise. It's a pretty big negative penalty on that, and it also makes all of your vassals like you less. So, now we need to solve that problem. And to do that, I'm going to give one of these counties to my heir. My heir he's 24 years old, I've already gotten married, he's off doing his own thing already anyhow. I may as well get him started figuring out how to be a ruler. He's going to have to take over from me eventually, and it'll be good for him to kind of get used to ruling on his own. You'll also notice here that he right now is very, very angry with me. Partially that's because I fired him from the council. I replaced him, he was my court chaplain for a while there, but I replaced him with the other guy. And he's also outraged by the fact that I changed the law, and that both of those will go away in time. Anytime you change a succession law, it'll make everybody very angry with you, at least temporarily. And if we look at his brother here, he's even more angry with me, because not only did I change the succession law, but I switched to primogeniture, which means he's out of the line of inheritance. He's just going to be a dude. Never going to inherit anything unless I give it to him, basically. So, we want to give Domhnall here. And you can see now here, he's heir to the petty kingdom of Tara, heir to the county of Dublin, heir to the county of Kildare, and heir to the county of Leinster. So he's going to inherit everything. So you'd think he'd be happier with me, but that's okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to grant him this county, and we need to decide which one we want to give him. I can't give him Dublin because that's my capital, but I could give him Leinster, or I could give him Kildare. And between the two, if you look here, Leinster is a much, much wealthier county overall. It has a total county wealth of 50, whereas Kildare has a total wealth of 20. Also, Kildare right now, he can't raise any troops because it was just conquered, and the garrison's been decimated because I just starved them. And so we're going to have to... It's going to take a little bit of rebuilding there. We'll give this to him as a little rebuilding project. So we'll go to him, go into diplomacy, and we are going to grant him a landed title for the county of Kildare. And we will include the lower titles. So he's fully in control of this county. It's all his as soon as I click this button, which we will do. And now you see he is Earl Domhnall of Kildare. And he left my court, naturally. He's got to go and run things over there, and he took his daughters with him. And we're now set up. Now, you'll notice how I said I did that in a very specific order. Now, the reason you have to do this sort of thing in that order is because if, say, I had given him the county title first, Kildare would have split off as an independent realm. because he would have been accountant, I would have been accountant, I couldn't be his lord. And if I waited until afterwards, after I created the kingdom, to change the succession laws, you'll see here all of these are grayed out. Part of this is because he has a negative opinion of me, but also because I haven't reigned for 10 years. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I need to get him paying some taxes. I mean, I gave him a pretty nice little bonus there. So I'm going to raise feudal taxes here, just up to small. And it's going to make him a little bit grouchier with me, but I'll earn a little bit of money from him too. Now, because his opinion is not overly high with me right now, largely because of the fired from council and being outraged by the succession law change, I'm also going to give him an honorary title. Now, honorary titles, one, they're nice to give because they'll help give him a little bit of prestige and a little bit of money, but they also improve his opinion of me. And as a petty king, you have 4 different titles that you can give out: the Master of the Hunt, or Master of Horse, Master of the Hunt, the High Almoner, and the Cupbearer. And of these, I think I'm going to make him my Cupbearer because it increases his opinion the greatest, and it also gets him a little bit of prestige. High Almoner is a nice one to hang on to because it is the only one that you can give to women. Master of the Hunt and Master of Horse can be given exclusively, well, the other 3, Cupbearer, Horse, and Hunt, can only be given to men. High Almoner can be given to women. So that's handy to keep in your back pocket if you've got a woman who's angry with you for some reason. So this will increase his opinion of me by 15. I'll give him a little bit of money. And that's that. So now we are set up so that I will continue to rule here. My son is ruling in Kildare but paying me taxes and still my loyal vassal. And when I die, my son will inherit both. Ta-da! That's how you do some really basic realm management. It can get much more complicated, like if you're King of France and trying to keep stuff together, it can be a little bit more of a challenge, but that gives you a nice intro to it. So, how much longer do I have left in the video here? Oh, still about 10 minutes left before I'd want to put a cut in, so let's start time going. And actually, have a sec here. Oh, England is independent again. Interesting. So England somehow, in the last episode, I guess, managed to split off from Norway. And that's something of a concern, because it's not being run by... Who's running it? Who's in charge? King Haakon of England. And he's of Godwin. So he's of the same dynasty as King Harold. Like if we look here, I think, where's King Harold? Oh, there he is. Duke Harold of Essex. He's also of Godwin. Now that's problematic, because this means England is now unified. They're much less likely to have rebellions and stuff going on if they have an English king on the throne. If it was King William, there'd be rebellions all over the place. If it had stuck around as King Harold of Norway, there'd be rebellions all over the place. But now, because it's unified, they're a much bigger threat. And it looks like Norway's picked up a little bit down in Cornwall. Interesting. Okay. So that means England's going to be a much bigger threat much sooner than I anticipated. And that means I need to start hunting around for other allies. Fortunately, I have 2 unmarried sons who are of reasonable age. Oh, and he even wants to get married. So let's see if we can't find him a wife. A quick way to at least take a quick look is to click on the Arrange Marriage button. And that'll bring up eligible bachelorettes who might be interested in marrying you. Most of these will always give you some sort of alliance, because you're marrying off one of your heirs, or one of your children. But I want to sort by age. Find somebody at least close to his age. Who can I find here? Especially for alliance hunting, this can sometimes be quite useful. Now, she is of Godwin, and that would get me allied to Duke Harold of Essex. Which is a possibility. She would also get me allied to Duke Harold of Essex. The other possibility would be to take a look at someone like her. That would get me allied to... where? Oh, it'd just be a bishopric in Jadeland there. That wouldn't help me too much. There's an interesting possibility. Cecilia Courtier in France, who would get me an alliance with Duke William. That might actually be a really good one. If you know anything about the history of the British Isles, wasn't done so much in Ireland, but Scotland always tried to have really, really close ties to France. They called it the Auld Alliance, A-U-L-D. And then anytime England started stomping around Scotland too much, Scotland would go down to France and say, hey guys, can you help us out? And then France would start attacking English holdings down in France and things like that. And it helped keep a lot of the pressure off of the Scots. So that wouldn't be a terrible idea, getting a continental ally like that. So let's go for that. See, now this will be a betrothal. They won't get married until she turns 16, so it'll be another 2 years. But it's still a good match. And it'll get me an alliance with Duke William, who unfortunately never got to wear a big shiny hat, but that's okay. So we'll send that off. And now I do have one other son here who I could potentially get married. Let's see if we can't find anybody else. Let's arrange by rank. Well, she's a princess of England. Oh, she's also really, really young. She is 0 years old. She's not even a year old yet. Maybe I will go with one of these Godwins. Now, the question is, who's better? They're both kind of mediocre. She's chaste, which wouldn't be the end of the world. I mean, he's my third son. If I start relying on him as an heir, something's gone terribly, terribly wrong. But overall, she has kind of worse stats overall. And she's also... But they're both fortune builders. Oh, that might be an interesting possibility, too. Have to wait 8 years. But she would get me an alliance with Duke Gospatrick of Lothian, who is on the northern border of England. That might be worth doing. Because then I'd have an ally down here and an ally up here, both of whom can put pressure on England should anything crazy happen. Plus, I've still got the alliance with Gwynedd. So that might I can have England surrounded by allies on 3 different sides. So we'll do that. Okay, and now, domain is under control. I've got my sun set up. Everything looks hunky-dory. So we'll speed up time a little bit here and actually start playing. Okay, so he's accepted the betrothal suggestion. He likes that idea. Oh. You are traveling by carriage in the countryside of Dublin when it comes to a sudden halt. The road has been blocked by a fallen tree, and the coachman explains that we have to make a slight detour on an isolated, smaller path. Okay, well, never mind delay us. I'm hoping we don't get highwaymen or something and kills him. At least I got all of his succession stuff set up. Oh my. I just got killed by my daughter-in-law. Oh my. Okay. So, I guess we get to see... I'm really glad that I got all that inheritance set up when I did. So she had a plot to kill me. And I must not have picked up on it. Probably because I had my spy master off scheming somewhere. But yeah, she plotted to kill me and evidently succeeded. Okay. King Murcad rests in the arms of the Lord at the age of 46. He was murdered on the orders of Gwynlyn Mithrifael. Long live King Domhnall. So King Domhnall here took over a little bit sooner than I had anticipated. And well, he's dead. So he's definitely not a pretender anymore. And that's my daughter, so. Okay. Oh my. That was totally unexpected. But, as you can see, because I got all my succession lined up the way that I wanted it to be, I have all of my... He stayed in control of all of his territories. And as an added bonus, actually, because his stewardship is higher, he actually has a stewardship of 8, he gets a bonus county to his domain. So I don't have to worry about sending off any of my... splitting off any of my counties and giving them to somebody else. That's kind of crazy. He hates his wife now. She's dishonorable. She murdered his close kin. Is she ambitious? Is that why? No, not even. Okay. Well, interesting. Okay. I'm probably going to, I know this is a little bit shorter, but I'm probably going to put a cut in here. And when we rejoin, we will start with the reign of King Domhnall of Terra. And yeah. Anyhow, don't forget, please like, comment, subscribe. I'm still new to this YouTube thing, so any feedback I get is fantastic. But yeah, until next time, cheers.